First of all, welcome to all the Derech guys, right? You know they're already that far out of Israel because there was no there's no insane hooting and hollering and there's whatever. I'm done college right now. I'm not even. You don't remind me of Isaac Pansky. I still have my jersey up in my house. People still ask about it. Embarrassingly enough, they read the inscriptions on it. Embarrassingly for you guys. It makes me look great. I was like, I know, right? Nerds! Okay, here we go. Why in the world did God create us? It's probably the most commonly asked question I get in emails, usually from teenagers, that are like, I have this awesome question that you've never heard before. Why did God create me? I'm like, next email. I'm not. Mostly because I just would like to point out, if anyone here ever sent me that email, it's no offense on you, I would just like to point out the silliness of the question, right? How do I know? I have no idea. I never spoke to him. I have no idea. We never conversed over you. Shifra 6623. I have no idea. I have no clue why I don't know. I think there's too many of us. I was saying, if we're solely asking my opinion, there's so many worthless, I'm joking. No, Chas v'shalom. But in my opinion, you have to understand something. I did just drive through Brooklyn. So, in my mind, there's either too many cars, too many people, or too many people who drive cars. I don't know what the answer to that was, although it was nice because I was driving in Lakewood earlier this morning and, wow. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Or I live in Cleveland, Ohio right now. I vacation in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a weird place to vacation, I know, but I really live in Israel in my mind, and I'm going to be back there soon, so I just say I vacation in Cleveland. And over there, when you put into Waze where you're going, and it says 5 minutes, you're there in 5 minutes. Sometimes you're there sooner. Over here, it says 5 minutes, and it has like an asterisk on it. It's like, it should take 5 minutes. If half the population of this place disappears, it's going to take you 5 minutes. So therefore, maybe I'm not coming in the right mindset to talk about why we were created. But why were we created? This question, like so many that came before it, no one really wants the answer to. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert for life. Most of the answers to your questions, not much has changed. Not much has changed. 8 o'clock. Like most questions that get asked, we don't really want the answers. There's an amazing, I think I actually might have said this last time that we were here in this exact speech, this exact time, but we're going to say it again anyway because this is mind-blowing to me. There was a study done at the University of Pennsylvania where they took people who were, I totally skipped everything in the beginning of this whole thing. I saw Rabbi was very nervous in the back, and now I know why. Tonight's year is it's like Nisan Ben Luna. Chazaq brought me here. Now, here we go. No, we're going to speak about Chazaq in a minute. That's why I skipped that. Now, there was a study done, University of Pennsylvania, where they said they took a poll or a study of people who were told, Khalillah, that they were terminally ill. They only had a few weeks to live, and it was a misdiagnosis. It was an accident, and they were called back and said, we messed up. Some guy in the lab was drunk and he messed up, and wrong diagnosis, you're going to be fine. They took a poll of these people, and they found that the most common reaction to being told that they're going to live, after being told that they're going to die, the most common reaction to being told that they're going to live was not joy, was not relief, was not a flood of positive emotions. The most common reaction was some form or other of depression. The question is why? They were just told that they're going to live. They were just given good news. Why would it be that? And the answer is that Chalila, we should never know from it when a person gets told that they're going to pass and they only have a certain amount of time to live. All they are, all they live, eat, and breathe is death. That's all they know. That becomes the core of their being. Dying becomes how they live. When you take that away from them, you didn't just take away a fact. You didn't just take away some bad news. You took away the core of that person. And when you take away the core of a person, no matter what it is, when you take away the core of a person, their natural standpoint is not now joy or fulfillment or just mediocrity or some sort of Benoni existence. It's depression. They're lost, so they fall to depression. Sometimes we live with these massive questions, and these questions are based on these even bigger assumptions. And if we were to, in one fell swoop, knock down this tower of assumptions and questions, we wouldn't be left with clarity. And this is probably the most important thing I'm going to tell you tonight. If I were to take away every assumption, every question, every doubt that you have, you will not be left with clarity. That's not how life works. Every single person who has ever dated another person in their life for marriage, should have said that in the beginning, anyone who for marriage is dating another person will forever, until they walk down the aisle back the other way, still on the way towards the chuppah, they're still asking this question. After they leave that, it's just too loud to think, so they stop asking it. Is this the right one? How do I know? But how do I know? Another awesome question that I get is sometimes it's a guy, most of the time this will come from a girl, but someone I've never met in my life, or maybe met once or twice, or I've answered one or two questions for, will call me or email me and say, well, how do I know he's the right one? I have no idea. I don't know him. I barely know you. I have no idea. I have no idea. For all I know, I'm going to be like, she's like, but how do I know David's the right one? I'm going to be like, he sounds amazing. And then I'm going to meet them in a supermarket, and it's her and a broom with a balloon face on it. And she's like, this is David. You're the reason we're married. I'm like, I didn't know you were a crazy person. You didn't send any sort of biography with the email. You just asked the question. I don't know. He could be a stuffed animal for all I know. I have no idea. What is the problem with that question? There's no problem with that question. It's a beautiful, wonderful question. The problem is the assumption that leads you to the question. Now, don't throw anything at me, because I know in every school, in every yeshiva, in every seminary, they've taught you different. But we all misunderstand, even some of our teachers misunderstand what this really means. And I know I just realized that the pit I just dug myself into, all the questions later are going to be about this. Just forget it, okay? Just trust me on this one point. Everything else you can ask me about. The assumption that we go under is that there is a right one. Is that there is only right one, or two right ones. That there's a concept of that either I get this right or I get this wrong. That's it. Those are my two options. So now and that's a fact. So now once I have that fact in front of me, I'm left with a question. I'm left with a really big question. How do I know that's the right one? I have options 1 to 1,000. You guys want to there? 1 to 900. Yeah, I have option 1 to 1,000 of people that can be potential. I was in a house this week. I'm about to get myself in trouble here, but what better place to get in trouble than in Brooklyn, right? We're right between Avenue M and Avenue J. This is the only thing you could do here. So, whoever got that joke, by the way. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, I was in a house this week, and there was a stack of papers on the thing, and it was like a bunch of pictures of boys, like all, relatively, I guess they looked the same age, and looked like information. I didn't see the names or anything, but like it just says on. And I looked down, and as a joke, I said, "Oh, is this the new way we do Shidduchim now?" It's just like, it's not even like one resume thing with a guy's picture, like he's being searched out by the FBI. It's like a whole list of them, just And the person in the house was like, "Yeah, those are Shidduch resumes." I'm like, they look like shoes. It looks like shoes on Amazon. It was the same types and everything as Amazon. And it was just these guys' pictures and some information, and that's it. I don't know if there was ratings. There might have been ratings. Rabbi rate them from like 1 to 4 stars, and that's it. So when we have that list in front of us, and we're like, well, which one should I choose? This isn't an ice cream store. Might be, but I'm saying it's not an ice cream store. We don't choose the right one or the wrong one. We're always asking the wrong questions because we have the wrong assumptions. The assumption that there is a right one. We say, why did God create me? What's our real question over there? What's the purpose of my life? What's the wrong assumption to that? Not that my life has purpose. Of course your life has purpose. What's the wrong assumption there? That there is one purpose to my life. And by the way, it's very specific. It's very specific. The purpose of my life is not just to help people. It's to help people in this field, this demographic, this type of people who wear this size shoe. That's what I'm meant to do. And there are certain people that just know. They just know. They know what they're supposed to do. And they're so good at it. I'm jealous of them. I've never met them, but I'm jealous of them. Which is crazy, because I know they don't exist. But we're all jealous of things that we know don't exist. People with perfect lives. People that have enough money. People that have enough friends. People that have enough talents, enough charisma, enough confidence. Those people don't exist. No one ever has enough, yet we're still jealous of them. Our question is, what's my thing? But it's the assumption that's all wrong. Our assumption over there is wrong. What would your life be? Just think for 1 minute. What would your life be like if you let go of all of those assumptions? If you let go of all of the assumptions that I'm supposed to be this, I'm supposed to be that, I'm supposed to find this, I'm supposed to find that. How many single people are there that feel worthless? I met a girl one time. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I remember I was in Israel. I was actually by my brother Ari's house, there on 139 over there, his apartment. His apartment was a house compared to my apartment. That's why, because there was 2 floors to it. It was a very big deal. Anyway, so we were in their house, and he had someone over, and this girl, she was an older single, which I still don't know what that means. You're single. I don't know that there's an age limit to single. It's not like you're expiring. I don't know what that means, but she's referred to herself as. It was like, hello, my name is older single. That was the name tag. And she said, she was saying right when I walked in, the topics in these types of living rooms when you walk in too early from shul, and the host isn't there yet, and the guys aren't going to be there for another 2 hours and I have to sit there waiting, is always going to be about how horrific the shidduch scene is, and how horrible shadchanim are, and how guys are a bunch of this, that, and the others. And then the one guy who's there is also single. This is why I don't do shidduchim. I'm a complete idiot when it comes to it. I walk in, I'm like, hey, they're and then both of them say their opinion. I'm like, I think I'm going to eat at home today. We have cereal. I'm good. I'm gonna back out slowly from this whole thing. And I do it all the time. My wife always looks at me. She's like, this is a true story. One of my boys from Yossi was over at my house, and one of my neighbors, you guys remember Mizrahi? I don't know if you remember Mizrahi. My neighbor used to live across it. As Israeli as you can get. I don't know that there's in the dictionary, like if you YouTube Israeli, you're going to see Mr. Mizrahi over there spitting Garinim at you, going, bah! It's not going to even be Hebrew. It's whatever level of Hebrew that is. He's amazing. I love him, but he is what he is. And his daughter came in, and I turned to my wife, and I'm like, what do you think about Ellie? And for the life of me, I'll never remember her name, but Ellie and her. And she's looking at me, she's like, because it's at a point now that I honestly think there might be something wrong with you. I'm like, well, what's the matter? I think it's perfect. She's like, let me list you just a couple of... She's 14, he's 23. She only speaks Hebrew. He can't speak anything but very American English. He said 1,000,000 times he's only living in America. Do I need to keep going, by the way? Is it enough yet? The fact that they can't communicate with each other? Is that going to be enough for you not to even think about this? I'm like, I don't know. I still see it. I don't know why. I got a premonition. And so I walk in, and this girl's sitting over there, and she says, a woman is sitting over there, a lady is sitting over there, I'm not sure, I don't know, but she's sitting there, and she says, she's talking about it, how, and my sister-in-law and this other girl that was there was talking to her, and it was very sad, it really was. I felt really bad for her, and when my brother came in, he made some joke about doctors or something like that, and the girl said, oh, here we go. The doctor jokes. And I'm like, why would you be offended? Is your father a doctor or something? She gave me the death stare. And I knew right then I made the big mistake. I'm like, oh no. She's like, I know what you're going to say. Just give me a minute to think of something to say back, okay? And then you can say what you're going to say, because everyone knows what you're going to... She's like, I'm a doctor. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like a doctor of like history, or like she's like, I'm an emergency room doctor. I'm like, wow, an emergency room doctor. She's like, yes, and she went through this whole thing. She wrote this medical chart, and I'm listening to this lady. She started a company. She did this and that, and she said, really, I'm not here because a doctor. I had to take off from a doctor because I started this medical company, and I had to fly in because we're getting things from Israel. And I'm looking at this lady, and I'm like, you're amazing. You are crazy successful. And she's like, yeah, so? I'm like, nope, no so. Why would you want to get married? just forget that. I'm curious right now. Why would you want some moron ruining it for you? Coming in with his whole, supper ready. Like, be quiet. Like, why are you doing that to yourself? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I want to get, I understand. I'm not, but how little this woman thought of herself. Because what she was supposed to be, the story she had to tell herself, which was that I'm supposed to be married, null and voided every other accomplishment she had. It was all unimportant. She said it with her own mouth. She said, yeah, but what's it all worth? I don't have a husband. Like, what's it all worth? Are you kidding me? I wish I was able to say half those things that you can say. I wish I was able to understand half the things you said. It's amazing. We have these these expectations that ruin our lives. And it's never enough. I think the last time I was here, I also, wow, there's something in this room, by the way. There's a lot of vulnerability that I gain in this room. So last time I was here, I told everyone that I've been to therapy, once upon a time. Great guy, his name was Shlomo Zalman. Amazing guy. I love telling people I went to therapy because now we can stop worrying about it. Because that's it. Now it's okay. It's fine. Some guy we never met before got up in front of a camera and said it. Now it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Rabbi always says, in Shidduchim, when they're like, oh, this guy went to therapy, we don't know. He's been to therapy. Rabbi always says, like, would you prefer the guy who didn't go to therapy? Because he's a lot worse off. Can guarantee you right now, right? So, for perfectionism, which isn't what you think it is. It doesn't mean that like I really like Windex. That's not what perfectionism is. It's not that I like things clean right. Perfectionism is that things will never be enough for you. You can, if we're going to use cleanliness as a thing, you'll clean something, and then you have to clean the next, and then the next, and then the next thing, and then once you're done cleaning everything, you're like, I have to get rid of all this stuff because it's all not good. I need the next thing because of that. Your mind never stops. It was ruining my life. It could drive you insane. But we all have this to a little bit of a degree. This concept, this idea that we tell ourselves, in order to be accepted, in order to be loved, in order to be, I need this, and that. Why did God create me? What are we really asking? What's the purpose of me being here? If you were to ask a parent, it would be the most awkward, dumb question you will ever bring up to another human being, by the way. Probably. Maybe, I could think of a lot of others. Fine, forget it. But it'll be on a list somewhere. You go over, imagine you have a friend that just had a baby. Right? You have a friend that just had a baby. You go over and you're like, by the way, just a question, why did you have kids? Like, I'm sorry? I'm just wondering, why would you do that? And what do you mean, why would I do that? Because you don't seem stable. No, it's like, I'm saying, like, what does that question really mean? Why would you ask her that? Why would you ask him that? It's a very offensive question to ask. Because basically what you're saying is that we have enough with you. More of you is a bad thing for the rest of us. Please, why did you consult with the rest of us before this decision? It's a really bad idea. No one would ever say that. Yet we ask Hashem, why did you have us? Why did you make me? Imagine a kid going over to his mother and we're like, why did you have me? And we're like, you'd faint. Like, that's the most heart-wrenching question. If I were in a room and a kid asked his mother, by the way, just, why did you have me? I'm like, someone call Child Protective Services. Someone call someone. The Ghostbusters, anybody, just to help over here. I don't know what to do. We ask Hashem, why? Why did you do this? And Hashem says, because this is how I give love. No, it's not. No, it's not. This world is for suffering and pain and suffering and bad. No, it's not. No, it's not. I put you here to love you. I put you here to give to you. If you want to know the root to I made a very big mistake. I have ADD. I have ADD. So I don't stay on one topic, but I bring it back at the end. Don't worry. I made a mistake. I used to write articles in Mishpacha magazine. And I took a hiatus, which means I stopped writing them. I think that's what that means. I think people think hiatus means that you come back to it at some point, which it probably does. But because I'm a coward, I just wrote, I'm taking a hiatus. And then ignored when they emailed me. No, they were very gracious about it, actually. But one of the things I was struggling with in writing articles was that they were mostly stories about these guys, about people that I've worked with and people that, and I felt people were missing the point in the story. The point was, to every single article was the same point. just brought differently. The point is that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm confident in not knowing what I'm doing. So what that means is that all I can do is bring out from them the game plan to solve or to get through what it is that they need to get through, to work through what they need to work through. But they always have the answers to their problems. They always have the answers to their situations. Every single person always has the key to where they need to go. And if all I'm going to do is sit there and suggest things, it's like when you come home and you're starving and your mother just starts listing foods. Or if you're a parent and your kid comes home and you just start listing foods. I do this all the time. I violate this rule all the time. My kid comes home like, Cheerios, toast. And they're like, maybe I'm just in a bad mood. I'm like, you're hungry. Cheerios, toast. Why? Because I'd much prefer it to be Cheerios, toast, eggs. That I know how to do. If you're in a bad mood, I have no idea what to do about that. So people kept calling me as if I had this like guru thing that I'm able to magically read you and figure out what your solution is going to be. And that wasn't the point of them. I don't know how that got brought out. Maybe it's because I wrote it that way. I don't know. But and it made me very uncomfortable. It also made me very angry sometimes, to be honest with you, to be completely honest, because people will call me and be like, all I need is 5 minutes. Just look at me, tell me what I should do, and I'm going to leave. I'm like, no, that's not how life works, right? That's not how anything works. And they're like, oh, you're just holding back on me. What do you want money? Like, no, yeah, no, wait, no. What are we talking about? Hang on a second. I don't even remember what the conversation started as. So in one of those articles, I made a very big mistake. And I said that it was by way of a joke, because I make jokes. And sometimes people can't tell the difference between when I'm making a joke and when I'm not making a joke. So I said, half seriously, half jokingly, that that someone came up to me about Shidduchim. I don't know why I'm picking up Shidduchim so much tonight, but someone came up to me about Shidduchim, and I said there's a few things I don't get involved in. I don't get involved with Shidduchim. I try not getting involved with shalom bias or divorce or anything along these lines. The reason being is that I don't know what I'm doing in those areas. I just have no idea. Like I explained before, I'm very bad with that type of thing, and I just don't know what I'm doing there. That's it. So also, in most of the times, it's like a fender bender, right? There might not be any damage at the end, but it's still not a good day. It's not like I can't operate like that. So, or I thought I couldn't. And I said this publicly. I wrote this in an article. And I assume Hashem read my article, because he was like, oh, really? So you took over running the world now, and you decided what you do and don't do. Well, la-di-da. I have your phone number. And he does, because he gave it out to so many people that week. And all I was doing for the next 3 months was only getting phone calls about Shidduchim, divorce, and shalom bias issues. I'm like, did no one read what I wrote? And no one did. None of them did. They're like, and anyone who called, usually they say, I don't know if you deal with this, but, and then they'll say what the thing is. Anyone who called on these things just started talking. They're like, so we're getting divorced. I'm like, okay. You don't sound like my wife. I don't know what's going on right now. I'm not okay with that. If you are just talking weird, I don't know. And what was the thing in my head? The expectation in my head was that I can call the shots over here. So now for the past year, I've been dealing a lot with shalom bias, divorce, and shidduchim. So one of the things that I found so unbelievably black and white, just blatant in my face, about issues in these, definitely in marital, but even in friends, even in siblings, even in parents, specifically parent to child issues, but definitely husband and wife issues are on par with parent to child issue in this sense. One of the biggest catalysts of issues, of misunderstandings, of pain, of hatred even between them was one thing. And if we took away this one thing, it was beautiful. I've seen people change. where I saw them first and I was like, there is no way these people are ever getting through this. Let's just take that kid out of that house, put that parent somewhere. I don't know what to do here. They're getting divorced for sure. They hate each other. One thing, expectations. Expectations is the cancer of life, of living, of joy, of happiness. Expectations is one of the worst things you could possibly have. Yes, even expectations of yourself is one of the worst things we can have. Let me explain what that means. That's what happens when you write. Oh, here it is. So, expectations will always equal a certain amount of disappointment. Always. That disappointment starts to fester. So what does that mean? Let's say you have a married couple is the easiest one to use, but we'll use but I don't like using that, so we're going to make it more difficult for white, and we're going to use a parent to a child. Get ready. Get your neck muscles ready, because if you're a child, you're going to be doing this a lot right now. It's going to be happening a lot. So, a parent thinks that a child should be doing X, Y, and Z. They should be going to school. They should be respectful. They should clean up after themselves. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And when they don't, they should get married at a certain age. Do you realize how we throw ourselves into the God role over here? It's like, I'm not married by 23. What's wrong with me? I was supposed to be married right when I got home from seminary. I'm a guy, I'm not married by 25, 26. I'm like, what don't they like about? I don't understand. Who put that there? Who tied you with that? Who told you that? And how much more awesome is your life without that thought? Why do you have that? I can't tell you after Shiurim how many old Sephardi ladies come up to me and say to me, Rabbi, my daughter, she not for this to get married. I'm like, why? I think I understand the question. Why? Why is she not? What's the matter? I don't know. She don't. She said no. She did. But crying, broken. I'm like, give her a minute. I don't know. How many expectations we have. So you have a child to a parent. I do this to my kids all the time. I walk in, and there's toys everywhere. There's this on the floor, that on the ceiling. I literally walked into my house about a month ago, and one of my kids, I love him, was on top of the refrigerator, laying down on his back. Oh, believe me, we're not even there yet. We're not even laying on his back, and with a silver Sharpie, on what he called a Sharpie in the rented house, laying on his back, and he's drawing just frowning faces. Like the son of Sam just walked into my house, like a serial killer was there. I walk in, and the first thing I see on one of the walls is a frowny face, and I'm like, someone murdered my family. I might as well go in. And I walk in, and I follow the frowny faces into the kitchen, and he's just laying there drawing frowny faces. And I'm like, hey, buddy. I'm not going to say which one it was right now. Hey, buddy. What's up? He's like, I hate you. I'm like, okay. I guess it's one of those days. And I didn't say, hey, buddy, what's up? I walked in, I said, yes. Yisrael, who I don't have a child with that name. I said, what are you doing? You know not to draw on the walls. And he looked me right in the eye and he goes, you never said not to draw on the walls. I'm like, I must have said that at some point. He's like, no. I'm like, never? He's like, never. I'm like, logic? No, doesn't. You don't know not to draw on walls? Really? And then my wife came in, and that obviously that part of the conversation happened. I said, you know not to draw on the walls. And he says, you never said not to draw on the walls. My wife came in, And my wife loves doing this to me, and she's right. She's like, oh, he has a point. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Why is he drawing on the ceiling? And which he would have actually said, yeah, he was probably drawing on the wall at that moment, because he would have said to me, well, I'm drawing on the ceiling, so it's okay. I'm not drawing on a wall. But it was my expectation that got me so upset over there. Kids shouldn't draw on walls. Kids shouldn't break things. No, you see, when I say it out loud, everyone's like, nope. All kids do are draw on walls and break things, actually. So when they do that, how are we upset at them? That's their function. That's the only value they have. Is that if you don't like someone, you send your kids to their house and they break stuff. That's like the only gain you have until they're older and you get too old to function, and then they take care of you. There's also, they say some cute stuff, all right? I'm not saying not. I like my kids, but what? That's what kids do. And if we think it's bad when we do it to kids, when we do it to adults, it's borderline insane behavior. We walk up to a person, we say something, or we come in and they're crying, and we're like, okay, I'm going to solve this. Like, no one wants you to solve anything. It's one of the big things with men and women. Are like, a man's always trying to solve something, a woman's always trying to experience it or feel it at the moment. And they're like, you hate me because you're trying to get me to stop feeling. And he's like, I love you because I'm trying to solve your problems. Both of them are speaking a relative amount of logic. So what are they really missing? The expectation. The expectation that, of course, you should love the fact that I'm trying to solve your problem. The expectation that you should be understanding and just sit here and watch me cry. I still don't get it. I'm not going to lie. It's not fully formulated here how. But our expectations of each other. You should have performed this way. You should have done this. You should make this. You should do this. A friend of mine was once telling me, my cousin, he's hilarious. He's a very funny guy. And he was saying to me how he didn't close the garage door. He was coming into the house, and his wife always says, close the garage door. He didn't close the garage door. It's a button, like you push the button coming in. He didn't close the garage door. And in order to close the garage, you have to bring his kids leave like everything over there, so you have to bring everything in and then close the garage. So he brought everything into the garage, but he didn't close it. He came in, and the next morning his wife was like, why didn't you close the garage? Why wouldn't you close the garage? I don't understand. And he's like, it's not like I brought everything inside, walked in and was like, no. And then just like, he's like, what? I brought everything in. Clearly I either missed the button or pushed it and didn't realize I was too drunk. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't remember why I didn't. What was the expectation problem over there? He should have done that. Imagine your life without that. Try to think of one argument. Try to think of one disappointment you can have in your life if you didn't have any expectations. Now the opposite, because I see it in everyone's eyes right now. The opposite of expectations is not, I'm just going to walk around and hope that no one murders me. That's not the opposite of it. The opposite of expectations is not being a careless fool. That's not the opposite of expectations. You ready? Because there's a truth bomb coming. The opposite of expectations is acceptance. You accept the person as they are. You accept them fully as they are. So I should accept the person who's punching me in the face? Okay, so that's one person, you got me. Minus that one person. Now everyone else that doesn't punch you in the face every day, accept them. Let's start with the people that are so easy to accept. And we'll work our way up to the person that punches you in the face. We always go to these extremes to try to protect a value system that doesn't make sense. Acceptance is the key to every single real relationship. But the acceptance of what? And this is where it gets to be key. What we're doing, we we didn't have time to go through everything, but what we were, the key to where we are, the key to what we're trying to do over here, is trying to live with the eye of God. What does that mean? When Hashem looks at us, what does He see? Because our narrative for Hashem is very off. We only believe Hashem created a certain amount of creation, and the rest of it He didn't do. And obviously it's not true, but this is our belief system. Hashem created me, but He didn't create me to make mistakes. He didn't create me to fail. He didn't create me to mess up. That's why I hate myself when I mess up. No, that's not true. That's not true. The greatest musician in the world was really bad at one point. The greatest prodigy, the greatest artist, was really bad at one point. They had to be. They had to be, or then there's no talent involved. There's nothing to be impressed with. If a child just was born and started painting beautiful pictures, it would be amazing to see, but no one would be impressed with the person. There's nothing impressive about that. It's a supernatural, it's an unbelievable sight, but there's nothing impressive about it. If we were to view ourselves the way Hashem views us, how does Hashem see us? He just sees us as light. Now you can have a small light and you can have a really big light. A small light still lights. And as it grows, it gets bigger and it lights more things. It's not bad because right now it's small. A light's not bad because it flickers. That doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it evil. It's still a light. You can't debate the light that's still there. And that light shines past everything in Hashem's eyes. Hashem designed us to be exactly us, who we are, with all of our faults, with everything around us. If we were to look at our lives through the light, through the eyes of God, we don't see problems. All we can possibly see are opportunities. We won't have strengths and weaknesses. We're going to have strengths and opportunities. There is no such thing as a weakness. It's just something that's an opportunity for me to become greater with. That's all it is. But the Yetzer Hara has us convinced to define ourselves through that. I was telling someone today, we define ourselves through what we don't, through that one thing we lack. So if we're not married, we define ourselves through that being single. You know what marriage solves? There's only one thing marriage solves. You're not single. That's the whole thing. It's the whole kit and caboodle. Nothing else. It literally does nothing else. The only thing it gives you that. Now, I'm not trying to promote people not getting married, by the way. I'm trying to promote people being themselves, because the problem is that when you go into a marriage thinking that I found the one, you think that now all that loneliness, abandonment, nights alone crying, pain, hurt, all of that is disappeared now because I found the one. And it's a lie. You didn't find the one that's going to solve all your problems. You found the one you met to fight with for the rest of your life now. Sometimes fight alongside, sometimes fight with. You met the one that you more than anything want to get to know. Not get to change. Not get to fix. Not get to be different. To accept, to love, to appreciate. How do we work on this acceptance? How does our view change from expectations to acceptance, which are the opposite ends of this? Our views change by honoring people's journeys. by realizing every single person, I don't care who you are, every single person is on a journey. Every single person. And this is our problem. Expectations deal with either the past, that shouldn't have happened to me, or the future, this should happen to me. And the fact that that thing did happen to me in the present destroys me. And the fact that that thing hasn't happened yet, or has the odds of not happening, destroys me in the present. Now my present becomes my tomorrow, and that tomorrow becomes that tomorrow, and I just continue in this cycle. Whereas, if I were to say I'm going to accept my past as it is, I don't imagine or wish it to be any different. It stunk. It was painful, it was hurtful, it was horrible. But I accept it as that. I don't wish or hope that I could go back and change any of it, even the mess-ups that I did. That was me paying. Failure is a currency in the land of success. It's how we pay for things. If you don't fail, you don't earn. Then you don't have the right to talk. If you don't fail, and failure is finite. You can only fail X amount of times before you're successful, and success is infinite. Once you accomplish something, you accomplished it. Doesn't mean you're never going to struggle with it again. But you know you did it already. Now the ability to do it again is infinitely easier. Failure is finite. Success is infinite. We pay for success with failure. So we're going to fail again and again and again and again. And that's fine. So I accept all those failures. I own them. It's like pointing at $1 million bank account and being like, nah, it's not mine. It's not mine. That one's not mine. I don't. Because right now I don't want to be a millionaire. So that one's not mine. You know, you might change your opinion tomorrow. Imagine every time you got into the smallest of fight with a friend of yours, you just excommunicated them forever. Be the most lonely person on earth. They did that thing. Yeah, but we're still friends. I'm saying you can't take away all of our history together. You can't take away. I have all this failure. I have all this pain. I have all these things behind me. And I'm not willing to own it. I'm not willing to adopt it for my own because it is mine. Instead, I just sit there every single day wanting it to be different and driving myself crazy. That's me accepting my past. My future is just that. No one knew I was going to do that. I didn't know I was going to do that. I have no idea. I have no clue what the future is. I have no clue. All I know is right now, I'm really happy I did that. That's it. There is no future. There's only my now. My journey that I'm on right now. You want to know the difference between a mature person and an immature person? I don't know if any of you, everyone here looks relatively young, except for me and Daddy. We're just tired. I know. But everyone here looks relatively young, so maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. Daddy definitely knows what I'm talking about. Maybe a few of us, fine. No one ever had to go up to their bungalow colony or to camp or to the mountains sitting backwards in their station wagon. It doesn't look like anyone here ever experienced that. But none of you even know what backwards in a station wagon is. What backwards in a station wagon is there used to be in the cars for minivans, before minivans with captain chairs and recliners in them for my kids and DVD players and who knows what else, there was a different thing. What it was that you knew how much your parents liked you versus your siblings based on what part of the car you were put in. Because there was a trunk. This isn't made up. And in the trunk, there was like this cardboard thing that you lift up, and you would turn to the two remaining and you'd be like, just get in. And then walk to the front. There was no car seats. Sometimes there weren't seatbelts back there. And you would sit there on top of luggage or under it, depending, again, if your older brother forgot to put in his luggage, so he just walks by the open trunk and shoves it right in your face, and now you're holding that, and for the next 4 hours, that's your life. The vinyl seats will fuse to your legs, and you will never get up again. This is what you believe. If you're lucky, they will pass you back the one can of Coke that they brought with them after everyone on it and then sent it to you. There's no vents back there, so zero air conditioning. But all the windows are closed because there's air conditioning in the front. And you would just sit back there trying not to either faint or vomit. Because if you did, they would put a plastic bag over your head for the rest of the ride, and that made it even more uncomfortable. There was no, although I'm pretty sure the reason why there are warnings on plastic bags now that this is not a toy is because some kid in the back of a station wagon on the way up to the mountains got tied up, and they're like, oh, we didn't know. So he must have been playing with it. The kid's an idiot to begin with. So I totally forgot why I was bringing up this. Right, a journey. If you want to know the difference between an adult and a kid, is that nowadays my children sit in our minivan in these big comfortable chairs. If it reeks in our minivan, but that's their fault to begin with, and they get served things and they get to see it's amazing. It's amazing. They have their own climate control in there. We're living in the future, people. It's amazing. So they're still going to say 4 minutes into this thing, how long are we going to be there? Guys, it's an 8-hour drive. I'm telling you right now. I don't mind leaving one of you somewhere. So it's an 8-hour drive. 8 hours. That's the answer to your question. 8 hours. So a child does not have the concept of enjoy a journey. The immature mind can only think, because I'm not making fun of kids here, it's an underdeveloped brain. They can't control that. They can't value the here and now. It's only when are we going to get there? Why did we leave? That's all the child mind can handle. And we all deal with this child mind. It's either because we listen to adults too much or whatever the case. But we're always looking forward to when is this going to be that? When am I going to get there? If you have a job, the odds are you know what I'm talking about. If you're in college, the odds are you know what I'm talking about. You don't enjoy being there. You just want to get to the... What if you enjoyed it? What if you enjoyed the subjects you were studying? If you actually took a moment to try to enjoy them. I know it sounds insane. I would never be able to do it. But the fact of the matter, what if you tried? What if the job you have now, you're right, is not the job you want, but it is the one that you have? What if you enjoyed it? What if you did that for yourself? What if you actually enjoyed these things? Where would you be? Where would your life be? There's a Mishnah in Avot that says, Rabbi Yoshua Omer, the end of the second parak, Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Ayin hara, Yetzer hara, v'sinat habriot, motziin et ha'adam min ha'olam. Ayin hara, a bad eye. This isn't the ayin hara that you're talking about. It's a person's view. Ayin hara. Yetzer hara, the part of us that wants to destroy us. V'sinat habriot, and hatred of things, hatred of people, hatred of creations. Motziin et ha'adam min ha'olam, removes a person from this world. Why? Why motziin et ha'adam min ha'olam? Why these three things? These are all our views. Ayin, we know, when we ever use the term ayin, we're always talking about the foresight or backsight of something. So it's either something that we've seen or something that we're looking at in the future. Yetzer hara. The Yetzer hara's game is to play on us like this. Feel bad about what you did, feel despair for the future. Don't live in the right now. I don't want you thinking about right now at all. The Yetzer Hara hates it when we live in the now. Motziin et ha'adam min ha'olam, removes a person from this world. Why? Because you're not in this world anymore. You're either in the world that was, or you're in the world that's going to be, but you're not here. You're not here anymore. When we view the world through God's eyes, God exists above time and space. He just exists. Why is it so hard for us to wrap our head around something existing outside of time and space? Because we cannot fathom a world that isn't back or forth. We can't fathom just being here right now. The negative of expectation, the opposite of expectation, is acceptance of the journey. A child cannot appreciate a journey, a comfortable journey. Why? Because their minds aren't built for that. But adults, we have to do that. We have to appreciate and accept each other's journey. It's not bad that because if a trip is supposed to take 8 hours and I end up making it take 6 somehow, that's awesome. Unless you don't appreciate journeys. Because then, even though it took 6, it still stunk. It's horrible, it's stupid. But if you appreciated the journey, number one, you could get stuck somewhere. It doesn't even really matter how long it takes. Number two, I made that journey shorter. It's great. So it doesn't really matter at the end. The journey is everything. We'll never be happy till we get there. No. Enjoy the journey. Honor the journey. I'm not bad if I walk up a flight of steps. I'm not bad if I'm not at the top yet. I'm still going up. I'm still getting there. That's acceptance of a journey. When we see a person struggling, when we see a person do something wrong, that's part of their journey. We're just going to end by discussing this in one deeper level. And it might seem impossible to do, but it's not. People around us, it's so difficult to accept their journeys. Someone asked me today, I was discussing this idea with someone today, and he said, yeah, but how do we accept this is what his line, how do we accept the journey of a jerk? Someone who's being a jerk to us. How do we accept them? Well, it's simple. They're a jerk. It has nothing to do with me. Why does a jerk affect us so much? Why does a bad person affect us so much? Very simple. Apologize for my language. Very simple. Because we're offended by him. But if his job is to be that, I'm not going to be offended. It's him. That's what he does. That's what he does. That's who he is. If that person goes around talking about other people, a guy pulled off a great line in my Shabbos table. Guy, Jordan Gross. Jordan Gross. I love him. He's one of my neighbors. He's an awesome yid. Sitting at my Shabbos table, and someone was saying, Jordan's a Baal Tshuva, and someone walked in and said something dumb like, I saw this crazy Baal Tshuva guy, and said something, some story was not that great. And my wife turned to Jordan afterwards and she said, does it offend you when someone says that? And Jordan, without, and if you know him, this is how he is just in life, without a second's hesitation or thought, he's like, no, it says a lot more about him than it does about me. Feel bad for him. He wasn't saying it as a line. This is legitimately how he felt. He didn't even think about it. He said something bad about something that says more about him than about me. How can you even twist Baal Tshuva to be a bad thing? Like, how does that even make sense? It says more about him than it does about me. Acceptance doesn't mean I like the person, doesn't mean I approve of what they're doing. It means I accept what they're going through. I accept them as that. Which means I don't expect them to be any different. Why does this help us so deeply and so much? If I walk up, this is the last example, if I walk up to an apple tree, and I say to this apple tree, I would like an orange. The apple tree is going to say, you're out of luck. Here's an apple, idiot, right? And you're like, no, I want an orange. And the apple tree is like, yeah, Can you juggle? And he throws a bunch of apples at us. Now, at a certain point, the apple tree might not be that nice in how he's explaining to us the fact that he can't give us an orange. But the fact is, the apple tree can't give us anything but an orange. It's my fault for standing there asking an apple tree for an orange. Now, if you would walk up to that person and be like, you can't get an orange from this tree, it's an apple tree, then we're like, but I desperately need an orange or I'm going to die. Like, yep, okay. Weird, but fine. So go find an orange tree. This tree can't, no. I'm getting an orange out of this tree. Like, it can't give it to you. It's an apple tree. The people in our lives are what they are. For whatever the reason, it's not your business. They are who they are. They're apple trees. And if you're allergic to apples, and they're throwing apples at you all day, buy an umbrella. But don't expect them to stop being an apple tree. They're an apple tree. They can't do anything else. Once we accept the fact that person is that way, you have to realize too, and they're on a journey, you have to realize two awesome things. Number one, when they change the way they are, because inevitably their life is going to stink for being apple trees when everyone wants oranges, when their life changes, you're the first person they're going to change about and through. They're going to be nice. If they're mean people, they're going to be nicer to you first because you accepted them when they were mean. That's number one. Number two, I accept the fact that they change too because they're on a journey. So if they're not nice people, they're eventually going to be nice, and I'll accept it, I'll allow it. Because I know that people are on a journey. They're going from point A to point B. And it doesn't matter where point A started, and it doesn't matter where point B ends. What matters is right here, right now. Right here and right now. So that person is still in my life. Eventually they're going to be amazing. I'm sure of it. But in this part of their journey, they're like a little child that comes home hungry. When he says, oh, I hate you, you know he doesn't mean that. He's a little kid. That's what he is. That's what they do. They say silly things. You think that changes when someone becomes a parent? You think that changes when someone becomes your friend? You think that changes when someone gets... No. They also say silly, stupid things sometimes. That's it. They're humans. I accept them. I accept what they say. I accept them as they are. And if I could do that, I don't have a need for expectations of things anymore. I abandon them. I accept them. I accept their journey. I accept myself. I accept my journey. And real love of another human being is accepting them as their journey is, not as I want their journey to be. Okay, we'll go on to questions, if anyone has any questions. I'm going to assume. Oh, you have them? Oh.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay. No, you look like you were walking up with that, like there was a...
I could ask a question. But
no.
First of all, just before we open the floor to questions, I do want to mention that the events are always free, and I try to keep it that way. I try to sponsor everything out of pocket or through family and friends and sponsors just like potential ones that are sitting here. So if anybody can afford to give any kind of donations, it only goes towards the future events to make more events just like these and hopefully just as good. I don't know about you, but I learned something tonight. So without further ado, if anybody has any questions, we'll take them right now.
Right, I'm going to actually give everyone 1 second to think of questions because I totally forgot. First of all, a big thank you to Chazaq. They really, you guys, I was there today. I had a very hard day today. I was at Chazaq today, and it's always a worse day when I go to Chazaq. Rabbi, I'm not going to go through all the names. It's so bad going there. Because you walk in and you just gave a speech, you just gave a class, you just helped someone, got off the phone, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really good about myself. Then I go in and this guy's like, I just took 1,000 kids from public school and put them in yeshiva. What did you do today? I'm like, your journey, and then I just leave. I can't, I'm broken. I'm broken. They're unbelievable what they do over there. If anyone knows anybody that wants to give $1 million, now let me finish. No, I'm joking. If anyone knows anyone that has a child in public school, that has a relative in public school, and that wants to change that wants to actually get the funding, the ability, the pull and power to actually have that changed, email their information to Chazaq at PSTY, which stands for Public School to Yeshiva. I think I got that right this time. At chazaq.org. PSTY at chazaq.org. And guys, the Daily Dose is still going, right? We're trying to get another 500 subscribers to the Daily Dose by the end of this series coming out. So where the Daily Dose is from Torah Anytime, they send out one clip of Torah every single day. This is why our lives are awesome, because we have other people doing all of our stuff for us, myself included. I found out that to some poor person, I don't know who they are, but when I say poor, I mean I feel bad for them, like not monetarily poor. Some poor person in Israel whose job it is to listen to not only mine, but my brother Ari, all of our speeches, and cut them up into minutes. You have to lose your mind at some point of that. I sent them an email thanking them and telling them to maybe put in some Ramayel Bitterman or someone in the middle just to add some kedusha to their life. And the Daily Dose can be, so these minutes or moments are cut up. You get them every single day. It's an unbelievable way to start your day to listen to that morning's dose. The number for the Daily Dose is 929-355-4268. Torah Anytime's Daily Dose. It's on WhatsApp. You just text them, add me, and or WhatsApp them, add me, and they'll add you to it, and you'll get this awesome clip every single day. It's free. You get this awesome clip every single day. I don't know how they would charge for that. Anyway, you get this awesome clip every single day. You can also sponsor them, and so on and so forth. Any questions? Oh, thank God. Oh, man. Mr. Pansky always ruined my day. Sonny, no, I don't care.
You don't care?
No, go ahead.
With the daily, what was it?
Dose.
Daily Dose. Do they have any form of social media?
Sonny, listen to me. I'm going to tell you what I told you in camp, okay? Okay? You're smarter than I am, and I don't know the answers to these types of questions, okay? Sonny, it's me. I don't even know where they would. Yeah, they do. They do. Don't ask me where. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. But if they don't, Sonny, I know who I'm sending them to.
Stole my way.
Oh, he's a family.
For those of us from somewhat of a immigrant-style household.
A what?
An immigrant-style household where, like, good isn't really good enough kind of mindset. How do you draw the line between pushing yourself and, like, being hard on yourself, but at the same time being easy and being all kumbaya?
Right. So first of all, it's adorable that you think immigrants are like that. Americans are like that also. They're just passive-aggressive about it. The immigrant parents are just more honest. They're like, you are fat. You are fat. You have to lose this for the weight. But the American people are just like, you're beautiful, by the way. I just think that maybe it's time for surgery. Like, and it's just a different, more passive-aggressive type of, something along those lines. That having been said, that's a myth. It's a myth. It's a myth. I'll explain it to you. We actually said it last night. If you listened to last night's share, but I'll just do it really quick. It's a myth, this idea that if I'm hard on myself or if I demand from myself, I'm going to accomplish. You ever felt really bad or really down on yourself? Like you ever felt like I'm a loser? I don't know how. Did you ever go from that point to being like, that's it, my life is going to be, and then shoot up? It's never once happened. It's just never once happened. The odds are when you're feeling that way, you actually mess up another 5 or 6 things. When you're pushing yourself in that way, being honest with yourself as they call it, you actually go mess up about 5 or 6 other things. Because now you're in a horrible mood. So now you go and you make a bad decision about 8 or 10 other things. When you forgive yourself or allow yourself self-compassion is not, it's all good. That's not what it is. It's that I did mess up. But through that mess up, I'm going to earn the next thing. Right? The famous Dale Carnegie thing. This guy lost a company $1 million. And he goes over to the CEO of the company, and he tenders his resignation, And the owner of the company is like, you out of your mind? So he's like, you're going to keep me? You're so thoughtful. That's amazing. He's like, no, I'm going to keep you. It's not because I'm thoughtful. It's because I just spent $1 million educating you. You're never going to make that mistake again. Now I'm going to send you to the firm down the block to never mess them up. Are you joking? It cost me a fortune. I'm not letting you go. You're an idiot, but I'm not letting you go. Right? It's the same concept. I earned right now because I just messed up. Now if I translate that, because what do I do when I beat myself up about it? I'm not saying I'm never going to do it again. I'm saying this is what I do. I'm a loser. So of course I'm going to mess up. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy for the next time I mess up. This is just a cycle in my life. I mess up. Whereas if I say, that was my learning, that was my time, this is something I had to do in order to grow, what do I do the next time? So if my expectation was never to mess up, and I mess up, that's just always going to happen now. Because my expectation hasn't changed. I'm always going to feel bad about messing up. Whereas if my acceptance of my mess up is the reality, then first of all, I go through life without the fear of messing up. I also learn from my mess up and I'll continue further. So you're right, we got brainwashed as kids that to walk on eggshells but it's something we need to change in our minds. We have to change that. We have to change that expectation with acceptance. It's a much more beautiful way to live.
Oh, sorry.
I remember.
And if it's been tried and tested, and at a certain point you feel like, all right, I'm gonna try a different method, like you're saying. At what point do you feel like that method might not work out as well, and you have to try something else? So, I'm guessing the question is, if you have to choose between taking things kind of easy or hard, and there's no kind of middle that you can kind of settle on because it doesn't work that way, at least for yourself, which way do you go?
Right. So let me give you an expectation that people like to say. Right? They use this expectation that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It's probably one of the bigger lies we're ever told. If you love what you do, you're going to work so hard at it, you're not going to be able to wake up in the morning. You're so tired. You're not going to have time for stupidity. You're going to go home. You're going to want to crash. You're so tired. If you love what you do, you work so hard. The reason I'm saying this is because there's no not work or work. It's not taking it easy. Acceptance is not taking it easy. Go accept your life, accept those around you. Tell me that that's easy. You want to lash out sometimes, and you're like, that's not acceptance. If I were accepting this person as they are, I won't lash out at them. I'm going to truly try to understand who they are. I don't appreciate how they're talking. I don't like how they're saying. I don't condone it in any way. But I accept them. We have to change that language around. So there's no failing at that. There's no way to fail that. It's a surefire way. It's not easy or hard. Your life is still going to be hard. You're just going to enjoy the hardship as opposed to suffer through it. Easy just means I'm ignoring the hard. Sorry, I thought someone's hand went up. Okay, good. Oh, yeah.
So I'm in where I am in my journey now is kind of what you're talking about, the acceptance part, and I feel like I'm in a place where I'm understanding that now, especially after your lecture. But my husband is not, so I feel like of course he's on his journey, he's supposed to get there himself, but how do I help him get there so we're on the same page? If that makes sense?
See what he said? You want to get him there.
I don't want to force him there, but I feel like...
But you kind of do.
because
if you were able to. No, really.
So you said something, that's why I asked this question. You said when someone is the way that they are, you have to, that this is how they are, this is who they are, open an umbrella. Meaning,
right.
I guess to protect yourself, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bad example, but yeah, sure.
I don't know.
No, it was mine.
When someone's the way they are, I'm like, okay, that's just how they are. But for my husband, he'll be more upset about it. He'll get offended, and then it's all.
No, he won't. If you're accepting him, no, he won't.
But that's the situation.
Then you're not accepting him. In other words,
I'm saying the person that's whenever we're involved with a specific person, let's say, and I don't get offended by the way this person is, but my husband gets offended by the way that person is.
So you have to be accepting of both.
Huh?
You're accepting of both.
Right.
You're accepting of who he is also in that situation.
Of who both of they are.
Yeah, so when he's upset at that person, I accept that these things drive you crazy. I totally understand that.
So I just listen and just.
Yeah, I totally understand. Chava,
He gets mad.
Adam and Chava, if you're just listening to him,
He gets mad.
no man in the history of mankind has ever been upset because his wife just listened to him. It's never once happened. Are you married to a broom? No, I'm sorry. Chava, right? Adam and Chava. Chava, when she listened to the Nachash, right? What happened over there? She said to the Nachash, Hashem said we can't touch the tree. That was a lie. That wasn't true. Hashem never said that. So you can't eat from it. So Nachash knew this. What did the Nachash do? Pushed her up against the tree. He's like, you didn't die. Everything's fine. You touch the tree and everything's okay. So you could probably eat from it too. And then Chava took from the tree and ate it. Now, what happened over there? She knew she was lying. She not lying, but she knew it wasn't. She knew she couldn't eat from the tree. She knew touching it was whatever. So, what happened over there? When we force a person to stand their ground, even when they realize they're wrong, they're gonna keep standing their ground. They're gonna keep standing their ground because it's not their ground that they're protecting, it's their ego. Now, when you're dealing with a husband and wife, however true that is in regular interpersonal relationships, it's times 1,000. What you want to do is accept him as he is, all angry and upset, and be like, I see this really, really hurts you. I'm so sorry. I know, I get it. I can really hear where you're coming from, that would really upset you. I get it. That's really, really hard. That's really difficult. I'm really sorry. It wasn't okay. You're right. It wasn't okay what he said. It wasn't okay what that person did. It wasn't. Now you're thinking, but then I'm giving him a stamp of approval that person's bad. And now he's gonna, no, you're not. You know what you're actually doing? In reality, what you're doing? Because you're now speaking for him by saying now he's gonna think. No, he's not. You know what he's really gonna think? She really actually understands me and she's on my side over here. Forget that guy. She thinks I'm right. That's all that mattered. Forget that guy. And the next time that guy upsets him, he's not going to even get that angry anymore. Because he knows you're with him. He knows you're on his side, you have his back. That guy. Here? Any?
Yeah.
Oh no, we opened the floodgates. Here we go.
What is the fine line between acceptance and validating, especially whenever it's like with your children or with people who are younger than you? Like I could be like talking to my nephew or something and he's doing something and I totally accept him for what he is and what he's doing, but you don't want bad for them. So what's the best?
You don't want bad for them?
You don't want them to fall into anything.
Yeah, so again.
Not for yourself.
No. I hear what you're saying. It's a good question. But it falls into the same category. We believe we're in control of that. Well, we're not. He's on a journey. One of the main points, I think maybe we didn't say this, but one of the main points of a journey is the fact that I can't affect it. I can't. I'm telling you right now, I can't tell you how many people in my life, I've really not made that big of a difference. I'm not saying this to be an enough, honestly. The dedication that I gave to it, I'm sure I'm going to get schar for. But when I lay down my head on a pillow at night, I cannot think of a single person who I actively changed their life. And if I can, it's really creepy.
But that's very different because you're not, for example, let's say it's a parent.
No, even a parent.
Always gonna think-
Even a parent. I'm telling you right, even a parent. So I have a child, right, who's not doing what I want him to do, right? Let's say you have a kid who, and it's the same story, right? So you have a kid, a parent will call me and be like, how can I get my kid to go to shul? He doesn't go to shul. How old is he? He's 9. Right? I'm forcing him to go. He doesn't want to go. He's 12, he's 13, he's 15, I don't care. Right? I'm forcing him to go. He's not going. What am I supposed to do? The answer is always the same thing. Leave him alone. Accept the fact that he doesn't go. But then he's never going to go to shul. Let me tell you something I know for a fact. I don't know a single 30-year-old on earth that goes to shul because he was forced to at 15. Never met the guy. I know plenty of 30-year-olds who go to shul because in his own time his parents allowed it. And really, what are they worried about? They're not worried about the 15-year-old going to shul. It's not what they're worried about. They're worried that when he's 30, he's not going to go. So if you want to make sure he's not going to go at 30, tell him, force him to go at 15. In reality, it's how often we meet our destinies on the road to avoid them. It's a line from Kung Fu Panda. Thank you very much. Now, when we try to tell this kid and force him into that mold but that's not his mold. We're trying to live his journey for him. He needs to get to shul on his own. He needs to get there. What does he need from his parents? The belief of acceptance of him. The belief that he matters. He's going to want to start going to shul when he matters. The belief that it's not just because we want everyone to see you going to shul. And so self-confidence, self-esteem, those things he's getting from his parents. But not by telling him, you have to go, I'm going to go. All my friends are going to see me. He knows why you're dragging him to shul. It's not because of that. And if you think in the mental health field, in the education field, people aren't like this. They're desperate for the client to do well. They're desperate for the kid to do better. So they're going to fudge it and fake it. And you have these kids walking out of, especially Jewish schools, not knowing a thing. Because we just passed them to the next grade. Didn't have to work hard. And then it keeps going up. Finally, this poor kid leaves base measures, gets married. He has zero life skill, zero ability to what do you call it? He comes out, he's like, where's a Jew that's going to give me a job? That's it. He's just looking for the guy who's going to give him the job. Which an uncle of mine is doing the best. I'll work for him. Until I compete with him, and then our families won't speak anymore. It's like a circle of life with us. We're trying to protect them. You're not protecting anyone. What can we do for people? Very simple. Allow them to experience life. Children are resilient. They'll fall, they'll fail, but they'll grow. They don't want to know that you're going to be there to catch them. They want to know that after they fall, you're going to be there to comfort them. There's a very big difference there, because then when someone dies, all the kid is saying, now no one's there to catch me anymore. I've never fallen. It's the scariest thing in the world. No one's there to catch me now. As opposed to, when I fall, my mother is always there to comfort me afterwards. She doesn't even have to be here to do that anymore. She could be gone and still be comforting him. She lives in there now. It doesn't stop. If we try to coddle them through or force them too quickly along their journey to go from point A to point B, what ends up happening is they become stagnant where they are. So the kid who was going off the derech and his father kept killing him about just do a little bit. You know how many parents I've dealt with that are just like, I just want him to just put on his tefillin every day. That's it. I just want to make sure he put on his tefillin every day. And when this kid's shooting heroin 5 months later, he's like, I just want him to be a person. That's all I want, is to be able to sleep at night, not thinking he's going to die. I had a drug counselor one time told me a worse story. I know, that exists. Not the worst I know, but it's this parent was constantly saying to him, you know, I just want this. And finally, like, he couldn't do it anymore. His kid had like pink hair and a face that looked like a dartboard with piercings, and he got a tattoo or whatever. He's like, that's it. Can't deal. He's like, what am I supposed to do? Walk into my house and see this in front of my face? That's what he used to say to the therapist, to the kid. Sure enough, unfortunately, the kid overdosed and didn't make it. And they were sitting in the house. It was during the Shiva, and everyone's crying, and everyone's upset, and everyone's obviously, understandably distraught. And this guy was saying, he was crying to one of the uncles. The father was crying to one of the uncles, and he said, what I would give to see him walk through that front door. My friend, this drug counselor, said to me, he's like, I'm sorry, I've been holding this in since then. Obviously, I didn't say anything to the father. But I left the house crying my eyes out because you're too late. Who do you want to walk through that front door now? The kid that you wanted him to be? The kid passed away when he was like 19, 20. So you want a 19, 20-year-old yeshiva bacher with a hat and jacket and everything to walk through that front door? That's what you want? That's who you miss? Because that guy doesn't exist. You never even knew him. That kid doesn't exist. Who are you thinking of in your mind When you say, I want him to walk through that door one more time, who are you thinking of? You're thinking of a kid with pink hair and a face that looks like a dartboard. That's what you're thinking of. That's who you're thinking of. If you would have only accepted the fact that that's who he is and that's who you want to walk through your front door 3 years ago, he never would have gotten the hair, never would have gotten the pin, never would have gotten any of it. He wouldn't have needed it. He wouldn't have needed any of it. It would have been just a blip in his journey, and he would have gotten past it and grown from it. But when we stop, when we insist on pushing people further along their journey, we're pulling them back on their journey, then they can never move to the next step. It's impossible for them to move to the next step. I can't tell you how many divorces I hear about because somebody put their foot down. I have to put my foot. I've done enough. I've given it enough. I have to now put my foot down. That's your problem. You think you gave in over here. Allowing a person to live their life is not called giving in. It's called love. It's a real love, and it goes the other way also. A child to a parent. You're right. Some of us have immigrant parents. Some of us have these. They're not the same as us. They didn't grow up the same as us. We need to understand that. When they see us, they see a bunch of spoiled kids, and they're right. My father came up from Morocco when he was 13 with nobody. He's supposed to understand my white person problems. He's supposed to understand that my minivan is too late. How is he going to understand that my minivan's sunroof is broken and I'm upset about it? And my gym closed too early this morning. How is he supposed to understand what I'm talking about? It's not possible. We need to accept that. Without the expectation of he should understand I'm his son. No, he shouldn't. No, he shouldn't. But a good father doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. You know who does exist? Your father. Your mother. Get along with them first. Then lecture everyone on what a good parent is. And parents the same way, a good son would, blah, 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 and a good son doesn't exist. But the one you have does. So be I've met your mother. I don't know. She would so agree on that thing. So accept the one that you have. Be excited about the one that comes in. And you'll never need another one. You'll never want or pine for another one. Any other questions?
Since you've entered the dating and marriage realm in the past year,
Yeah.
so this question would go to the single people in the room, which I think is plenty of us that can benefit from this question.
Sorry, I can't even not. I don't.
So what would your advice be to the singles who would play out the scenario? For example, they would say, "Oh, she's a great girl, but this one thing or that one thing, we shouldn't have the expectation that they should be a certain way that we envision them to be, right?"
So
at the same time,
I'm going to say my advice here is very juvenile. So take it or leave it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying what I'm about to say on this, I have no idea if I'm right or not. The way I see it is that you have your specific things that you're strict about. And you got to know yourself. Right? What are your, right? Guys, I don't know. Maybe it's the same way with girls. I don't know. I'm not one, so I have no idea. But I know with me, every one of my roommates, in yeshiva and what do you call it? Whatever was their red line, they all married that. It's I had one roommate, an Israeli guy. It was I'm just one thing. I'm not marrying an English girl. I can't deal with that accent. It drives me crazy. Not only did he marry an English girl, it's she has the most cockneyest accent ever. She's I don't understand a word she's saying ever. It's amazing. It's the same. I don't want a person that this, that, and the other. So Rav Asher always used to say that if you have too much of a thing, I don't want this. He's even if you didn't marry that person, unfortunately for them, their character traits are going to morph into that because that's how Hashem made the world. You're never going to work on yourself more than when you get married, and then you're never going to work on yourself more than that than when you have children. So they're going to end up adopting those character traits without even knowing it, because those were so you want to decide that. That's what you're going to have to work on now. So, but everyone has to know what they want and don't want. After that, I've seen the most mismatched human beings have the greatest marriages. So if someone says, and remember, we're talking about, right? Why do Rabbi Berkowitz always says, one of the biggest chidushim in the world, in the whole Torah, he believes, is the fact that we believe Eidim. Two people show up to a court and say something, and we believe them. He's like, that's crazy. What are we trusting these guys for? And we're like, well, it's because there's two of them. He's like, and? It's like, there's a really Rabbi Berkowitz moment, because you're like, I don't know, I went through my whole life just believing it. He's like, you know how much of a story is in every human being's head? How much their past experiences come in? He's like, it's a massive chiddush that we believe two human beings to say something. You think their opinions aren't involved in what theirs? Of course they are. See, the Teretz is that Bezdin are trained interrogators. So they tear these guys apart. No one is ever able to last through Bezdin's interrogation. But it's still, to him, it's still a chiddush. Right? So we go to a shachan, we go to a what do you call it, and they say, yeah, he's nice. He's nice. And we're like, well, I'm not going to marry nice. That's not going to happen. If the boxes check, right, your general life goals, your general, I want to live in this way, I want to have this type of if like, let's say you have a guy, or I guess, let's say you have a guy. I'm picking on the girls too much tonight. Let's say you have a guy who is like, I very much want to be business-minded, but I'm only going to work half a day. I want to learn in the mornings, and this is my plan. This is what I would like to do for forever. I'm not changing it. I don't want to change it. I want to have a very solid morning seder, or one seder, morning seder, afternoon seder, night seder. I want to have one solid seder, and be doing every single day. And and having I'm not saying this is the best way to do it or not do it. I'm just saying this is his requirements, let's say. And I'm going to have a job that, and I want to live in, wherever. And you have a girl who comes and says, I only want to live in China, and I want a guy who is going to be home every single night. I don't care if he has daf yomi. I don't care if he has he can never go learn. Can never go. I want a guy who specifically doesn't put on tefillin and everything. Right? You're going to be like, okay. So the fact that both of you like comic books doesn't really matter. Right? Because clearly you don't, right? So certain core values you don't share, right? Certain very big core values you don't share, right? So let's say a guy is like, I want zero filtered internet in my house and big screen TVs in every single room. And you have a girl who's like, my children are never going to see a movie their whole life. Clearly, your value systems are just, we base things as far as the shidduch goes, we base it off of a value system. As long as your value systems match up, then it's a matter of you. That's a matter of you. Some lady came up to me on a program somewhere and started yelling at me. She's like, how come you don't speak about Knicks picks? I'm like, I have no idea. I still don't know. But I know it's a shidduch thing. And I'm like, I have no idea. It was like, Knicks to picks. I'm like, okay, first of all, I didn't decide to not Knicks picks. So I don't know how I'm at fault here that you're yelling at me. I don't care about it. Not that I don't care about it. I don't know. I have no idea. I never looked into it. I didn't study it. I don't know. They say there's big rabbanim that are against pictures, for pictures. I have no clue. I don't know. Right? I have no idea. My point is that let's say you have one person who is like very into pictures, one person very not. Right? Their odds are their opinions are not going to be lining up. So, you find out what you can and you go with it. But to put too much weight on what other people have said about the person, personally, when I accept a guy to yeshiva, obviously it's very different, but when I accept a guy to yeshiva and, his Rabbeim have said horrible things about him, I'm never like, I forget it, I'm not going to meet the kid. We have Zoom. I don't even have to go out there, right? I'm going to meet him. And I found people lying. So many times.
I'm not talking about what you hear from like the shadchan. I'm talking about when you actually go into the date and you see that, yeah, she might be great or he might be great, but they're like nobody checks out everything on your checklist.
Right.
There's always some things that don't add up or are missing. Everyone has their own journeys in their life and different experiences that add them up to be who they are at that point. So like I guess the main concern would be is like, obviously everything is a core value-based system in marriage, but to what extent should we value other things like random opinions?
Right. So we date as Jews, as religious Jews, we date with a certain formality to it. But we can't negate the other side there. If you have an extreme interest in the other person, or a valid interest in the other person, that's enough to say yes to go further. Take your time with it. People are going to try to rush you. Be like my wife. I try to propose on a fifth date, and she said no. She said, you can keep going or you could go home. I don't care. I had proposed like another 2 times. It became a thing I just started doing on dates. I'm like, hey, she's like, nope. All right. Eventually, she said, yeah. Or she just got tired. I don't know. One of the two. But I'm just saying that, like, you know, it's a good question. There's a lot of personality involved in the question also. So, like, a person who wants, on the base level of things, it has to be that you are interested in that person and you want to connect to that person. So, as far as the first things go, you tick the boxes, so you know, like, certain basics are in order, right? Then you go out and you see, I have an interest, I have a vetted interest in this person. No one is ever ticking every single box. So my vetted interest has officially made it that I stop being interested in that thing because I'm interested in this person. You hear what I'm saying? So there's going to be a lot to that. There's going to be a lot to that. I know, me too. Sorry, yeah.
How is it not depressing to walk around with no expectations of anybody?
Because you're walking around with acceptance. You're not walking around void. When you say, how is it not depressing to walk around without expectations, you're viewing it as not expectations and void. You're replacing expectations with what actually should be there, which is acceptance of other people, which translates as love of other people.
Doing something really bad,
You're not condoning that action.
Right.
You're accepting that person. So again, should a child hit a parent? No. No one's going to say yes. Do we understand when a little child hits a parent? Yeah. We accept it. We're not like, oh, like he hits the parent, we're like, he hit me first. Did you see it? You saw him hit me. He hit me. Right? No one's going to think that, you're right, that parent I don't think is acceptable. Right? We're not going to accept that parent. But I'm just saying, like, why? Because that person is a child in that way. We all have an inner child. And we all act like children at some point with certain things.
The ideal is to not have expectations of people.
To have acceptance. Why? Acceptance does 2 things. It spurs them to grow, to go past it. Right? The way to push a person actually further into their journey is to accept their journey as it is right now. Right? Once we're in acceptance of where we are, we can actually move further. But if you don't accept where you are, you can never move further. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that acceptance of that person is not condoning what they're doing. Right? My guys, my students, not my students in Shiva, they're all sweet kids, great kids. A client that I'm working with, or anyone else, right? If they're Machal Shabbos, if they're and they're telling me about it, they did this horrible thing, they're telling me about it. And I'm like, wow, okay, wow. Right? They don't think that I'm sitting there being like, that's awesome. You should really pursue that. Keep going there. See how that ends up. That sounds great, right? They don't think I'm condoning what the negative behavior that they're involved in. They just know I accept them even though they're involved in negative behavior.
How do they know the difference? Because sometimes
I get that question a lot, and I don't really think about it. I don't understand the question.
Because when you're in the role of a therapist, let's say, or whatever it is, then it's clear. I don't approve of you doing drugs. You know, you're shooting up.
I think if you're in the role of anyone on earth, it's clear no one approves. You don't approve of you doing drugs.
Let's say someone is treating up someone else very badly.
Right.
Right? And they're talking to you about it.
Right.
Right? So you are understanding them, but how are you not validating? You're validating their behavior. How is that different than approving of their behavior? So,
first of all, in a situation like that, right, if they're telling you about the negative that they're doing to someone else.
For a purpose.
Yeah, so if they're telling you something negative that they're doing to someone else, the odds are they're telling you that for a reason. They don't think it's a good thing.
Unless they justified it.
So that they might do. That they might do. And you can even show acceptance around that. But when we justify, it still leads us to the same place. We don't think it's good. We just think it's justified. We don't think it's a positive thing to do. We would love not to do it. We just know we have a reason to do it. So we get them from reasons being the justification being the reason we do something to honor, esteem, whatever being the reasons we do things. Right? There's still a separate journey there. But as far as the easiest way to use this as an example, and the easiest way to understand this would be a parent to a child. Right? If a parent doesn't discipline the child on the thing that they're doing wrong, how will the child know it's wrong? The answer is the child knows it's wrong, right? They don't think the father or parent is okay with that. Our first level to a child is earning acceptance, is earning respect from them. So once I accept them, even though they did something wrong, and kids know this, that's why you'll yell at a kid or do something, they'll cry or be upset for 5 minutes and then come right back. When I have one of my children, if I scold him or yell at him about something or whatever, he like sits here, he's like, just looking at me, hold you, and then I just pick him up and hold him. Right? I'm the one that just yelled. What is he doing? Because he's not upset at me. He's not upset at that. It's either scares it, whatever. We're going to go into the whole depth over there, but he knows I accept him. It's not a matter of that's why he wants the comfort from me. The acceptance is what leads them to know I did something wrong. I'm still accepted even though I do something wrong. And let me take this one step further, because this is super important. One of the main reasons why children don't open up about abuse is because they feel they won't be accepted. They feel they'll be blamed for it because they never got acceptance. If we bomb them with acceptance, they'll open up about everything. They'll know when they did something wrong and they'll talk to you about it. They'll tell you, I did this and this and this and I feel really bad about it. I feel really bad. I did this and this thing. I said Lashon Hara. I said whatever. I feel bad about it. Right? That's why we have the concept of tshuva. We have the concept of, we don't define a child by, or anyone really, by the negative that they do. Right? Everyone always says, I saw that person's true colors. No, you saw them in their worst moment for a minute. Like everything else in their life now fell apart. Everything good that person ever did. It's a modern day media trick that we use. That like the media will find one piece of dirt on someone, that's it. Whatever else that person has ever done in their life is null and void right now. He messed up once. Look, he messed up once. We have pictures of it. Like, yeah. And so did I, and so does everyone else. We have to normalize that as opposed to the fear of ever being found out. Our children walk around with more fear of being found out than more love of acceptance. So now when so let's say my kid comes home, right, and he really doesn't know if he did anything wrong, right? He comes home and he says, there was a kid in my class today who came in and his pants didn't fit. I said a joke, oh hey, whatever, and everyone laughed, right? He doesn't even think he did anything wrong, right? It's not a nice thing to do. He doesn't think he did anything wrong, right? So how would I show acceptance over there? Tell him, first of all, it's a great joke, right? It's a good line. Second of all, Tzaddik, I know, you know, there's something not right over there. What do you think happened over there that shouldn't have happened? It's like, I made him feel bad. Immediately the kid will come out with it.
Easier as a parent though.
Huh?
Meaning, it's almost easy to do that. Not easy, but if you have the knowledge of how to do it as a parent, you can do that. But in a lot of other relationships, you can't.
So we negated therapist, we negated parent. We could go down the list. Siblings even more so.
Basically, they know just by contextually.
Yeah. No one thinks it's we paskin this way la halacha. I hate to take up so much time. We paskin this way la halacha. If you have a person who's not Shomer Shabbos, right? And so we always have the question, can they touch wine? Can they this and that? So you have a kid who went off the derech and smoked cigarettes on Shabbos, right? Or vapes, because we're in 2021, on Shabbos. And he... there is a place, I'm not saying we paskin this way, I'm not a paisik, but there is a place to say that will still allow him to touch wine, still allow him to, why? Because he's not actually a Mechal Shabbos. If his Rebbe was walking by, he'd hide the cigarette. He's sitting there saying, it's fine, I smoke on Shabbos, it's fine. He'll even tell me he does it. But when I walk by him, he's going to hide the cigarette. Why? He knows it's wrong. He doesn't think it's right. When a kid yells at a parent, he's going to be like, if I don't do anything, he's never going to know that it's wrong. Oh, no. He knows it's wrong. If you don't do anything about it, you let it simmer down and talk calmly to him, he feels accepted even though he did something wrong, which is a tremendously high level. Right and wrong, kids learn very young. Don't hit, share, don't lie, don't be mean, and a couple others. Tell mommy when you have to go to the bathroom. There's a few others, right? other than those, and by the way, everything falls under those categories in some degree. There's very little tweaking we need to do after that. Acceptance and things like that are so much higher. It's so much higher. It's so much higher on the priority list, I'm saying. Yeah.
When dealing with difficult people, how do you show that line between you're giving up on someone and you're accepting them for who you are?
So what you're talking about more than acceptance is really boundaries. Are a little bit more on that topic, which we're not really talking about, but I'll just say for a second. The way boundaries work is that boundaries aren't you can't do this. Boundaries are it's better to do this, right? So let's say someone says they want my kid to watch a movie, or a better thing is our kids want to go to 7-Eleven, right? They want to ride their bikes to 7-Eleven, right? So I'll say, I don't know if that's age appropriate for them to be riding by themselves to 7-Eleven, but I don't mind going to pick up 7-Eleven and they can ride around the park, right? As opposed to, I don't think that's age appropriate, right? That's setting a boundary, but it's not a doable boundary, right? Because I'm not providing anything else. I'm not active over here so when we're dealing with difficult people, it's the same thing, right? I have to say this to my kids all the time, yelling and slam the door. I have a daughter who's 40, no, 17, right? She's not 17, but she acts like she's 17. And she'll slam the door and be like, I don't know. That's how it sounds to me. And then she slams the door, right? So I'll say to her, right? I'm not going to say to her, you can't talk to me like that. I'll say to her, Eliana, if you want to talk to Papa about this, we speak this way, or we could say this. You could just come over to me and say, let's talk. Or you could, right? She's never going to do that, right? But it's teaching her that, this is that line. So when you're dealing with a difficult person, it's usually best, especially if they're a blow-up person, it depends on the difficulty. If they're a blow-up person, you accept them as they are in that moment, and you wait till later to have that conversation. Again, acceptance is not being allowed to walk all over you. Acceptance is, I accept that this is how this person is. I don't expect them to be any different. I understand that they can't be any different than they are. This is how they are. But that doesn't mean that I need to be hurt by this. I'm going to leave. I don't need to be hurt by this, but I accept them as they are. And I'll say that to them. I accept that this is how you communicate right now. I get it. You're upset. I get it. I want to wait till later to talk. Right? A person can't stay yelling at you when you say that to them. Or most people, I'm saying. Yeah, it was. Go for it. What do you keep me? Yeah.
And just to get your attention.
Yeah, you're adorable. Whose hat is that? I know whose hat that is. Yeah.
Could Rabbi elaborate a little bit on something that was earlier in the speech? When the issue people have is they're looking for the one. Is that implying that you'll never know who the one is until you're married? Or is that...
That's implying that you don't need to know who the one is in order to be married. You need to be dedicated to that marriage.
More than one,
huh?
Is there more than one?
It doesn't matter. You're dealing with the person in front of you.
It would definitely
See, it's another concept of not living in the now. This one's in front of you. Can you right now, with this one in front of you, build a life that you love? What are you thinking about all the other people that are out there? Who are they? They're not here. They're not. You're making people up. Yeah, we have these ideas. Expectation. Yeah. This person is right in front of me. This one, make it sound like this person's right in front of me. This person's right in front of me. Is this person the one that I want to stay doing this with for forever? It's that simple. Not forever, but I'm saying, is this the one that in this moment I could do this with? Now you have to think about the future. I'm not saying that. That's why you have your checklist.
Theoretically, that could happen with multiple people.
Yes.
So there's more than one.
My point is that there isn't, because in this moment you're only sitting across from one.
I'm not saying that when you get married, like, oh, there's 8 other people now.
Do you think that there's a switch that goes off when you get married magically that says that all those are all of a sudden not an option? Because I know a lot of people that switch didn't get turned off for. I don't even mean in like infidelity or anything like that. I mean that they keep thinking, well, if I was with that one, they would be like this, and if I was with that one, they would be like this.
I'm not married, so I don't know, but I'm assuming from a healthy marriage,
I know.
There's no regret once you get married. I love this person, I'm not regretting marrying them. There's regret?
Huh? Well, sorry? What are you saying? It's not regret. It's that, sure, there is, of course. Of course. What does that mean? It's not regret, but can a person in a healthy marriage ever be like, oh my gosh, did I marry the right person? Of course people say that. The fact that they feel that it's like the most worst thing in the world to say leads to shame and makes them believe that it's true and then leads to bad things. Whereas if they could just feel that way and be like, in this moment I'm feeling like, oh my God, did I marry the right person? Hang on a second. Oh yeah, I was crazy about her last week. That's the truth, yeah. Oh no, she's having a bad day. There it is. There it is. You never thought like, hey, I want to kill myself? Just me? Okay, fine. No, I'm saying like you never thought like, oh, that's it. I'm going to lose my mind. You're like, I'm just having a bad day. I'm having a bad day. We're allowed to have a bad day. We're not allowed to have a bad marriage day. We're not allowed to go over to someone and be like, my marriage right now is insane. We're like, why? I'm like, we're just fighting all day. Like, really? All day? Like, yeah, it's pretty good. We're going for a year now. Real strong. You know, it's a matter of like, again, it's an expectation that I should, you know, everyone always says like, I totally get that there's no such thing as a marriage without fighting. There's no such thing as a marriage without disagreements. And then they get into a disagreement and they're like, I married the wrong person. What you just said about everyone, there's always going to be disagreements. Like, not like this. I didn't know she was going to hate my mother. Like, yeah, what do you think a disagreement is? Yeah. Yeah, her and my sister aren't going to be best friends. I don't know what's happening here. Her father is crazy? Your daughter-in-law has never called me once to say that. I just want to, it's never happened. No. It's not, whatever. It's like, it's all this, that's what it is. So if your head is always out, it should be this way, it should be that way, and it would have been that way with that one, it would have been that way with that one, then of course you're just going to be putting this into a cycle.
I'm not saying once you're married, I'm saying while you're dating.
Even while you're dating.
You can relax a little. I'm asking you, like, ask me if there's more than one in the sense that you're able to relax with them. Of course, okay, fine, I don't need to be so strict.
Exactly.
I'm just saying you don't need to follow the exact guidelines.
Technically, yeah. Yeah. The odds is that there is more than one that you could technically have married. The question is that once you marry a person or once you're dating them seriously, what's the difference? Because it's all going to matter on what you're giving into this marriage, what you're putting in. It's not going to matter who it is that you're giving it to, aside from to you, obviously. But
when going by that opinion that theoretically you could work out with multiple people, how does a Kadosh Baruch Hu decide who you end up with?
He doesn't. You do. You have Bechira. And you decide how long you're going to be with that person. You decide how much you're going to dedicate yourself to that person. You're going to decide how much of your ego you're going to let go in order to be with that person. And that person is going to do all those same things. Obviously, we're dealing with, and I hate to say this because people jump to this so quickly. Obviously, we're dealing with everything outside of like extreme mental health issues. Now, 1,500 people watching right now. We're like, oh, thank God, because my ex-wife was insane. Like, maybe yeah, maybe no. I'm not. No. She got locked up. I'm like, okay, all right. All right, she went to a psychologist. That's what happened. She went for therapy, and she's insane. Okay, I've heard people say things like this. So, I'm not one to say one way or the other. I'm not here to judge anyone on their own specific cases. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, people in good marriages have sacrificed their ego, have sacrificed some of their own dreams, have sacrificed a lot of things in order to be connected in that way. Because the key to having great children is to have a great marriage, and the key to having a great life is to be able to accept all those around you in the most beautiful way you possibly can. So the people who dedicate themselves to that, and that becomes priority, even if what you're accepting is difficult to accept and seems like you're validating, but these are all just reasons that you want to lash out at the person for being the way that they are and not meeting your expectations of them. But once we say that really what the problem is that they're not meeting your expectations, it's a lot easier to stomach it then. You're like, oh, all right, it's just my ego. It's just my expectation of what they should have been. What was I basing that off of? Nothing. I was basing that off of how I would like to present my life to other people usually. Right? You know how many fights between husbands and wife happen at a Shabbos table in front of other people? Not the fight doesn't happen there, but it's because of that Shabbos table in front of other people. She disrespected me. He said this about me. Da, da, da. Right? I want my wife in front of other people to be So, singing my praises. I want my husband in front of other people to be doting on me all the time. And they don't meet that expectation, so we get really, really, really upset. We get angry at them. We say, oh, you don't respect me. We define it. But if we think about it for 1 second, when did that start? Because when she acted that way in private, you really didn't care. You even thought it was funny and cute. So when did it start? It started when she offended your ego in front of someone else. So my expectation was that she would make me look good. Why did I need that? Why did I come up with that? That's not from a healthy place. And the same thing the other way. On both sides. Negation of expectations will always lead to positive places. Presence of expectations will always lead to us falling short. I came up with a word, I don't remember it now. But the presence of expectations will always lead to us not getting to anywhere good, basically.